everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Fantasy Lunch, brought to you by RapidDraft.com. Pat Hegwald, along with Caitlin Morale. As you can maybe tell if you're a regular viewer of this program, first of all, thank you very much. Second of all, get a life. What the hell are you doing? But last time we did this particular show, Caitlin was in her evening gown, like she still is. So once again, Caitlin, please up around, a little evening gown, prance around. There we go. Caitlin Morale from Burlington, Wisconsin. She's 26 years old.
Tell my age, you can tell my weight next.
She's 5'9". She's 126 and a half pounds.
That was pretty spot on.
Hey, you know.
That was pretty spot on.
I'm a dude. Duncan said, no, I think it's 125 and a half, and he was probably closer than me.
Actually was, yeah.
That's what dudes do. But as we talked a little bit before, we got into a little bit about ADPs and average draft position of what we have so far on RapidDraft.com.
And we're getting recognized in the industry. FF Today had I think our top 20 on one of their blogs, and Scott Engel from Roto Experts, he wrote a little piece on our ADP, and I think it's getting around that we are going to be the standard, like we keep saying.
And I think it certainly helps because as of right now, let's face it, where else can you go and have actual data from 1,000 drafts by experts as well as one consumer? I mean, let's face it, ESPN.com, CBSSportsline.com, they don't really have anything because what do they have to base it on? I mean, right now,
you got some Joe picking a kicker in the sixth round, and that's going to skew the numbers, and we don't have that.
Everything we have is very, very much up to the minute. Bryant Westbrook is right now a consistent 6, which, quite honestly, I thought he'd drop a little bit more than that, only because you got guys like D'Angelo Williams right behind him, LT, Frank Gore, Chris Johnson, Larry Fitzgerald, Randy Moss. I mean, to me right now, with the lingering, and not just the ankle problems, but the lingering injury, they go right out and they get LaShawn McCoy from the University of Pittsburgh, who is a pass-catching back. They get him in an early round. I think the writing's on the wall, and as great as Westbrook has been, I think you might consistently see more and more dropping from him. But as of right now, people are still staying strong with Westbrook at the 6 hole.
One that I noticed is that Drew Brees was the first quarterback being picked, and he's dropped significantly, and Brady's up there now.
Yeah, Brady's at 23. He's been the first quarterback taken consistently in all the drafts. I know Matt Schaff, one of our writers here at World Fantasy Games, is just a huge Patriots fan.
Let me tell you a Matt Schaff story while we're at it. Now, Matt Schaff from Fantasy Sports Business, and he's also representing SportsBuff.com as one of the pros in Rapid Draft. He does Hollywood, which you might be familiar with. Hollywood.
Borrowed my name, but he doesn't
right
look
here.
anything.
Looks just like him, right?
Just like him, right?
So Matt Schaff and I are at the Fantasy Sports Trade Association Summer Conference in Chicago, and we're doing the expert draft. I picked the number 1 spot. Okay, so we're obviously doing the Serpentine style draft, and I go Adrian Peterson number 1. Come back around. We could have taken him in the 3rd round, so we didn't look like such idiots. We need Tom Brady now, right now. I'm like, Matt, we're gonna pick 2 and 3 right away. No, we had to pick Tom Brady in the 2nd round.
And I'd be shocked if you told me that you didn't take Randy Moss right after him.
We didn't.
Who'd you take?
I don't remember who we took in the 3rd round. I know we took Chad Ochocinco somewhere in there.
Actually, I had a little something here about Chad Ochocinco, and it just says, Chad Ochocinco, all is forgiven. Isn't it amazing how a guy can completely crap the bed like Chad Ochocinco did last year, having one of the worst overall seasons of anybody in recent history, and now Carson Palmer's back. He's got Lavernius on the other side now. Now he wants to move in with Carson Palmer and his family so they can bond a little bit more. And you're going to find that Chad Ochocinco, for as crummy as he was last year, is going to move right back up the charts because TJ Houshmandzadeh's gone. Lavernius Cole is still kind of that possession receiver kind of guy. Chad Ochocinco, for better or for worse, I think you're going to find people if they have late third, early fourth round picks, it's going to be hard to take a pass on that
What's
guy.
his ADP?
What is Chad Ochocinco? Actually, I know we had many conversations about what we were going to change his name to and how we were going to spell it. 52. So yeah, he's right in that fourth, fifth round.
And then for reference, it's Ochocinco, all one word.
Ochocinco.
I always say I can't wait till he plays for a team where somebody else wears 85, or if someone has 85 retired, and then he has to wear 86 or something like that.
Will he legally change his name? It's hard to say. But as far as our ADP goes, it's been, as Caitlin said, very much an industry standard early, and a lot of it has to do is because this is a new game, this is a new product. We've kind of had people more involved in it because let's face it, most of the sites out there are lucky if they've even unveiled their 2009 game yet. And
Because nobody's drafting yet, really.
We're already several thousand test drafts deep and several thousand paid
There's
drafts
lots of
deep.
there's lots of mock drafts going on with some of the industry experts, but this one, I mean, we have the highest numbers, and so that's one thing I did hear at the FSTA though, is that quite a few people not convinced with Adrian Peterson as number one.
And who would they say is the number one?
Some people had Turner, some people had Forte.
See, of all of them, I would say I'd take Jones-Drew, and especially in Rapids draft, for the simple reason that we have points per catch. It's a point per reception league.
Mm-hmm.
So you know Jones-Drew catches a ton. There are times when Maurice Jones-Drew will have 26 fantasy points. He'll only have 32 yards rushing, but he'll have 125 yards receiving and a touchdown through the air. Now with no fragile Fred Taylor left in Jacksonville, you might find that if anybody, you might find Maurice Jones-Drew working his way up the list only because between Peterson, Burner, Turner, and Forte, and even Steven Jackson, all those guys are still pounded between the tackles, get a corner, speed guys that are running the football.
Do you think you'll see Forte get more with color?
I think he becomes more dangerous only because I think the Bears become a better offense. I mean, if I'm going in with Kyle Orton and Forte and the bag of footballs worth of receivers they got there, most teams are going to say, well, we know Forte's the real deal. Let's stop Forte and force somebody else to beat us. Now, if you say, let's stop Forte, Cutler's probably going to pick you apart. I don't care who he's throwing to. I think Forte, of all of them, probably gets a little better. Whereas I think if Favre does end up in Minnesota, I think that adds complete chaos to that backfield because Favre is such a fly-by-the-seat-of-his-pants kind of guy. Is there enough room in the backfield for all those purple idiots? I don't know. It's hard to say. But I think Forte stands to be probably a little bit more on the higher end. And Michael Turner, I mean, how are you going to argue with what Atlanta did last year? How could you possibly argue? And they got Roddy White, they got Ryan, and now they pick up a dude like Tony Gonzalez that's got like 5,000 career catches and 150 touchdowns. I mean, it's just going to make them that much better.
Okay, I'm gonna switch gears here for a minute. And I know you said we could push baseball season into Lake Michigan.
Yes.
But this, I told you earlier, this sparked my interest in it. Manny Ramirez dropped to 7th among outfielders, 7th in All-Star voting.
You get on the juice, that's what you get, Manny.
Now, my favorite thing was that his minor league team that he's playing for is the Albuquerque Isotopes. Kind of like in The Simpsons. For all you Simpsons fans out there, I laughed my head off when I heard he was playing for the Isotopes.
And how much longer can it be before there's some black dude with dreads on Homer Simpson, and they're going to bring back Homer as the mascot as he was?
See, my favorite was when he was playing with Darryl Strawberry and Ken Griffey Jr.
In the big softball game.
Yep.
Classic.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for another exciting episode of the Fantasy Lunch brought to you by RapidDraft.com. For Caitlin Morrell and her evening gown, Pat Hegel, I'll see you next time.